Welcome to Articulate This, where we explore the minds behind innovation. Today we dive into the future of finance with LoanPro's visionary, Colton. In a world where financial technologies are evolving at lightning speed, LoanPro stands at the forefront, reinventing the very infrastructure of lending and credit. Imagine a platform so flexible it allows financial institutions and fintechs to craft unique lending experiences tailored to their specific needs. This is the reality LoanPro is creating. With an API-first approach, LoanPro is not just improving processes, they are revolutionizing the borrower and agent experience through real-time data sharing and seamless automation. And they're not stopping there. LoanPro is breaking new ground in the credit card space, introducing transaction-level credit, a game-changing innovation allowing for unique interest rates at each transaction. Join us in this fascinating episode as Colton shares insights into how LoanPro is leading the charge in modernizing legacy technology, shaping the future of finance. Hit subscribe and don't miss out on uncovering the future of financial technology. This is Articulate This. Let's get into it. Hey Colton, how are you?
Good. How are you doing, Pat? It's good to see you.
Not bad. Thanks for being here today. I do want to ask you, how does LoanPro fit into and stand out in the fintech landscape?
Yeah, great question. When I think about LoanPro, when I joined LoanPro about 7 months ago, and why I came to LoanPro is exactly this reason. I've been in fintech a very long time, so I understand the ecosystem. And it's my belief that right now, with financial institutions and fintechs, there is an extreme need to modernize the infrastructure of financial services. We have all this legacy infrastructure, and I strongly believe that the next wave of innovation happens only as you modernize the infrastructure. So when I think about LoanPro in the entire fintech ecosystem, there's a lot of fintechs that bolt on to legacy infrastructure and make it better. Think like online banking that bolts onto the legacy infrastructure and is a good borrower or customer interface. Here at LoanPro, what we're really focused on is how do we modernize infrastructure at the core that provides and unlocks unique innovation that you haven't thought about before that I'm excited to dig in with you for sure.
That's incredible. And I think you hit a major pain point about the infrastructure because a lot of these companies have been around for so many years. And now as modernization is coming, they're struggling to scale and or adapt. What are some key ways that LoanPro is changing the game in lending and credit management?
Yeah, so really it comes down to four main things. So when I joined LoanPro, I made it my mission. I'm going to go talk to, we have over 600 customers. Made it my mission. I'm going to go talk to as many customers as possible to understand the value that they receive from LoanPro. As I've met with a bunch of customers in various different settings, it's come down to four main things and four main value drivers that they get from LoanPro that's impactful. One, it's around driving growth. Right now is a unique time where there's heavy competition. New fintechs popping up all the time. There's 11,500 financial institutions. So competition is very, very high. And the need to differentiate is also there to be able to drive growth. So that's one. Two is around reducing risk. Default rates have gone up. Margins for especially financial institutions, but also fintechs have decreased significantly. Over the past year, actually, for banks, net profit margin has decreased by 38%. So a lot of that is like, how do you reduce risk? And by reducing risk, reduce default rates, reduce loss. Obviously, at LoanPro, being a modern lending credit platform, we focus on providing the infrastructure to launch, manage, and service any loan, line of credit, and credit card. Third, it's around driving a best-in-class customer experience and one that you retain customers. One of our customers, Best Egg, won a JD Power Award for their best-in-class borrower experience, which is awesome. And lastly, it's all around operational efficiency. If we tie back to margins, most financial services providers right now are looking at how do you do more with less? And a lot of what LoanPro does is how do you service loans? How do you manage loans with less people, with less manual work, with how do you automate more of that? So it really comes down to those four as far as key ways that we're driving value in the fintech ecosystem.
That's amazing. I love the fact that you are taking the initiative to actually speak with customers. Typically, when we talk about fintech or banking, people need those solutions. So the lens or the looking for the customer is not necessarily the primary objective that people have. So it's great to hear that you're actually doing that from a pain point perspective and solving their issues. So that's great. So tell me a little bit more about LoanPro's journey. Tell me about from its inception to now.
I personally love LoanPro's journey. When I first got introduced to LoanPro Transparency, I was really happy where I was at before. was like, I'll chat. And when I spoke with Rhett, the CEO, I caught the vision, and from there I was sold. So LoanPro was founded about 14 years ago by three brothers. These three brothers essentially came from nothing and were very gritty and scrappy, and like wanted to make something for themselves and for their family. So they're like, what do we do as a business? We're entrepreneurs. They started in a car dealership, a used car dealership, so doing used cars. And in the area that they were in, they noticed that a lot of the folks were subprime, near prime, and they're like, hey, we can sell a lot more cars if we do this lending thing and we loan to them. We don't have to rely on banks and credit unions to be able to do the lending. So like, how hard can it be? Let us do it. So they started lending. And what they realized is the loan platforms out there that helped them manage and service their book of loans were really inflexible. So for example, someone's due date was on the 15th and they call in and Rhett, our CEO, would typically answer the phone and be like, hey, how can I help you? She's like, oh, I changed jobs. I now get paid on the 20th. If you can change my due date to the 20th, I can make it every time. No problem. And he's like, there's no button to change the due date. Like the due date is set in stone for some reason. It's like, it doesn't have to be from a regulatory perspective. It just like is how the software was created. And they looked and scoured the entire industry and said, hey, what is out there, and couldn't really find anything. So they were like, hey, let us build this. Let us build a platform that helps you more efficiently manage and service your portfolio of loans. And since that date, actually, they built it for their auto dealership, their auto lending portfolio. And they have lots of people come to them and say, hey, we do dental loans, we do medical loans, we do construction loans. We want to use your software because it's really cool and you can do lots of cool stuff. And they realized they had something. So from that point, LoanPro was incepted as the modern lending and credit platform. And we've been growing for the past 14 years. We partner with some of the biggest financial organizations in the world, the likes of Chime, Best Egg, SoFi, Intuit, Whole Foods, and power their lending and credit experience everywhere from small personal loans to big real estate construction loans to lines of credit, and then even full revolving credit card.
That's incredible. I saw, I think it was from 2018 or whenever that was, you have FTV's capital's investment into the business. So now with that influx of cash that they did, they believed in the business model. Like what was the expectation or the promise that by that investment and that partnership?
Yeah, great question. So LoanPro is unique in that since 2013, we've been cash flow positive. So we actually don't burn money. The investment from FTV was not for us to burn money. It actually is not used to run operationally the business, but much more strategic. And we love that because we believe we have a responsibility to our customers of what we call sustainable growth. They're relying on us for infrastructure. And if we have a ticking time bomb on the business that we're going to run out of money in 2 years, that's a problem. So as a result, we have a firm belief that we need to stay profitable in a meaningful way. But on the FTV side, it's been much more of a strategic relationship. They've been awesome to be able to help us understand ways to grow, areas to focus on, facilitate introductions to key financial organizations and fintechs, and to have their strategic voice in the room and guidance and aid as they see it across their entire successful portfolio company. It's been really helpful for us to receive the outside direction that we need and help when we need it.
So talk to me a little bit more about some challenges or victories of LoanPro, because that sounds like a very interesting journey already. So what have you guys encountered? What have you guys overcome?
Yeah, lots of challenges. I think most of it early days when I was not here, as I joined about 7 months ago, but around how do you bootstrap the business? Because they didn't take any outside capital to grow the business. And it's very unique in today's, at least 2 years ago, it was very unique. Now it's kind of popular. People are like, I want to bootstrap because I can't find venture capital. But a lot of it was around, hey, growth fuels growth. So how do we organically fuel growth? And the founders have a really interesting way and playbook of being scrappy and gritty and figuring it out. And ultimately, like, it worked out because we have such an incredible product that stands out in the market. No one else in the market on lending platforms, from origination all the way to servicing, management, and like eventually closure of the loan, can combine like an API first innovation aspect with scalability. We do $22 billion of loan repayments a year. We create 16 million loans every single year. So no one can really combine those two together in a meaningful way. but it's been a journey to get there. The co-founders have some interesting and fun stories on how they bootstrap the business without outside capital to ensure that they continue to grow.
I always love hearing stories about founders that have that ability to bootstrap it. So you've been sharing a lot about LoanPro, but let's talk a little bit about you right now. So how did you end up at LoanPro? What was your journey like?
Yeah, so I'll talk through my journey through fintech because I consider myself a fintech nerd and enthusiast. That's like a part of myself and identity. On my free time, I read fintech articles. Like that's what I do. Where I go read like stuff from the CFPB on compliance. But it definitely wasn't always there. I think the biggest aspect to me in my life has always been how can I be in a seat and in an industry that I make the highest impact possible. And if you think about all the industries out there, I think I do not believe that there's an industry, maybe some aspects of healthcare, but that have higher impact relative to fintech. If you think about financial stress is the biggest indicator of suicide, biggest indicator of divorce, and all of these negative things that happen in people's lives. And a lot of this was implanted on me. And when I joined, when I started in fintech, I started at MX Technologies, the bank aggregator, and I became relatively good friends with the co-founder and CTO who had stage 4 cancer. And he had always really unique perspectives around the most important work that you can do is within financial services, because the financial state of many people is challenging, and it causes so many negative downstream consequences in their life. So since that point, I've told myself that I'll never leave fintech, that I'll be at mission-driven organizations that are focused on how do we help individual consumers through partnering with other financial organizations, whether they're banks, credit unions, or fintechs.
So you kind of already answered this a little bit, but I'll just ask it in a different way.
Sure.
From your learnings on your journey so far, what have you applied to LoanPro?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think there's two main aspects. One is a strong passion for fintech and financial services. People can tell, like when you interact with them, when you go to conferences, when you do things, they can tell, like, are you in this or is this a 9-to-5 job? And there's two very different responses, and it happens subconsciously. Like it's very challenging to fake something like that. And then the second is connected learnings of the fintech ecosystem. I was talking with a candidate for a role that we're hiring for at LoanPro yesterday, and he transitioned from funeral home technology to fintech. And like, I was like, dude, that's a big jump. Like, that's so interesting. He's like, I was like, what have you thought about fintech? He's like, the key difference is there's a lot of knowledge that is required within fintech and a lot of like learning. And you can go really deep, understand there's so many, if you just look at lending and credit, the world that LoanPro plays in, there's so many unique aspects of even origination. And even if you dug in deeper, even in credit and pulling credit and evaluating credit or the credit box, there's so many aspects there, let alone all the stuff we do in loan servicing, loan management, and payments as a whole space, right? So what I've learned is it's important to dive deep into fintech, dive deep into understanding, if you're talking to banks, if you're working with banks and credit unions, understand their pain points, understand the metrics they focus on, like efficiency ratios and net profit margins and like all the stuff that they do, understand what makes them tick. And that way you can make sure that the product that you're providing to those folks actually fits a need and isn't just a cool thing on a shelf that never gets used.
Yeah, I was going to say when you said about the funeral homes, I thought you were going to say recurring customers in fintech versus one-time. So.
No recurring customers there, unfortunately.
Let's start unpacking a little bit of LoanPro's tech because you mentioned at the beginning of the show. So it's very interesting talking about modernization of architecture. Talk about its composable architecture and transforming the lending process.
Yeah, absolutely. So I tell everyone I came to LoanPro for two reasons, people and product. I love the people here at LoanPro. I've worked with a lot of them before. They're awesome human beings, but the product is necessary and like fits a need and a unique need in the market. So we like to say in our customers, actually, we held our strategic advisory board where we invited 30 to 33 customers up to Sundance a few weeks ago. And the key word that all of them use to describe LoanPro is composable and configurable. So if you think about LoanPro as a modern lending platform, we're a platform that handles all end-to-end life cycle for loans, lines of credit, and credit card, and any class of them. So all the way from origination to servicing, collections, payments, and everything's built on our API first modern lending core. But the key differentiator is with a lot of the legacy platforms, they give you a box and you're like, you go to them and say, hey, I want to do loans. Like, all right, here's your box to be able to do loans. And you're like, I kind of want it to look like this and do this. And I want it to integrate with this software because I really like Oculus for OCR. And I really like this provider to do payments. And I want to integrate it with my, and they're like, no, dude, you bought a box. Congratulations, it's your box. Go figure it out, right? And a lot of, especially financial institutions, are in this conundrum of being handcuffed by their legacy technology. So the way that we built LoanPro was first API first, so we can easily and seamlessly integrate and connect with any external system, any provider, any aspect. And what that enables our customers to do is to take aspects of it. We call them Lego blocks. So we sell Lego blocks and sets of Lego blocks where you can configure and build what you want. And our team of experts can say, oh, you want auto loans? Here's a default auto loan template. But hey, Mr. Mrs. Customer, you want to change XYZ on it? Great. That's easy to do. And that's one of our clear differentiators is we built our platform composable like Lego blocks to where we can build really unique differentiated lending products in the market. And also we can integrate with any platform service third party that the customer wants to integrate with.
Let's talk a little bit more about the API first way you guys are set up. So how has the API first approach in shaping experiences of your clients and customers?
Yeah, I think it influences us in threefold, or our customers really in threefold. So one, the borrower experience. This enables our customers to be able to build their own UI UX and just connect to our APIs. They can use our UI UX, they can build their own. But really what it comes down to is, to Best Egg winning the JD Power Award, how do you build a best-in-class borrower experience and how do you do it in the right way? Back office is huge. Oftentimes with legacy platforms, getting access to data is very challenging, and let alone getting access to data, getting access to real-time data that's actually accurate and you can trust is very challenging. So the API first nature of LoanPro enables real-time data sharing. We have a real-time ledger. You can pull data and reports at any point that you want from that. And then the other aspect that we focus on, because we're in credit and lending, is the agent experience. So if you think about the API first nature, being able to automate servicing and do things automatically. For example, say a customer calls into an agent and says, hey, I'm filing for bankruptcy. What do you want me to do? Or, hey, I'm going on active military duty and there's SCRA that has interest rate requirements. What do you want me to do? And a lot of legacy platforms, it's like, never heard this before. Let me check. And they like call their supervisor. And then they got to do like 10, 15 clicks. They got to get all this approval. In LoanPro, it's one click, pings our API, does it. So for SCRA, for example, active military duty, one click, pings an API, changes their interest rate for the duration of their active military duty. And then when they come back, their interest rate goes back. So a lot of that is back to operational efficiency. How do we drive operational efficiency? The API first nature of our platform, because you can do any action in LoanPro via API, drives a lot of strong efficiency for our customers.
Well, looking forward, what's next for LoanPro in terms of technology and market growth?
Yeah, I love this. So a lot of where we focus on recently has been, for the longest time, LoanPro was a lending platform. So we focus very squarely on loans. And now we are we call ourselves a modern credit platform because we support lines of credit and full revolving credit card. We have a lot of cool innovation that I'm really excited about around full revolving credit card, actually, because when you look at the credit card space, there's very little differentiation. And folks have differentiated based on, I view two things, and they're kind of connected, honestly: rewards programs and marketing budget. So what happens is the biggest marketing budget wins. There's a reason why Chase and Bank of America and Capital One have these huge credit card portfolios, because they also have these huge, and American Express, they also have these huge marketing budgets, and they have the relationships with airlines and other folks for reward programs. We approached it differently, and we said, hey, how can we approach this revolving credit market very differently? So our co-founder and CEO Rhett, 7 years ago, I think, went to Costco. And he's got a big family. So he's loading up the cart, got the big cart, right? And the guy in front of him only has 2 items. And he has a big thing of toilet paper that they sell at Costco, and then a $10,000 diamond ring. And he's like, how interesting that you can go to a place and you can buy toilet paper and diamond ring, right? But what stuck with Rhett even more was he put it on a credit card. And he was like, interesting, because that credit card is the right financial instrument for the toilet paper, but not for the diamond ring. You can find lots of preferential APR and interest rate and like things on a $10,000 diamond ring for sure, because you collateralize the ring. And that stuck with him and said, hey, how do we reinvent credit card and full revolving credit in a way that actually works for the consumer? And so we came out with the innovation. We have 12 or so patents pending on this innovation, what we call transaction level credit. So this is the ability with a credit card to charge a unique interest rate at the transaction level. So for specific merchants, categories of merchants, geolocations, you can charge unique interest rates. So this gets really exciting to create differentiated credit card programs. An example is that we've worked with a financial institution on, and they came to us and said, hey, once again, to military, we service military members. We have a problem. Our problem is when, say, you have a husband, wife, 2 kids. Husband is in the military. When he leaves on deployment, we only have a secondary relationship with the wife and kids. And oftentimes they leave and go to another financial institution. And we want to bump our card to the top of the wallet. Say, great, I think we can do some cool things. So we've been working on launching an active military duty card, where when the military member goes on deployment, for their family member back home, we will geofence a 3-mile radius around their house. And any gas and groceries purchased when their spouse is on military duty is a 3% interest rate. And any emotional wellness purchases are interest abated for 12 months. So you can do really cool things that are specific and targeted to a specific persona. We've talked about doing like a sporting team, like a game day card, where food and swag around the stadium on game day is a lower interest rate, and like flights to go see the games is a lower interest rate. So you can think about the possibilities, but the idea is we don't need to differentiate on rewards programs are great. However, there's unique differentiation you can build in the actual financial instrument of the credit card that we're actively having lots of great conversations on right now.
Yeah, that's incredible. Like when you were telling me, like my mind was already racing with all the opportunities and things that you can do for people. Like you're mentioning, what is the right instrument for the credit card? And you're right, it may deter people from using it. But now, if you give people special rates or give deferred payments, whatever that looks like at the transactional level, you may open and get more customers, be able to build better partnerships with merchants. That's a pretty cool. That's a game changer for technology.
Yeah, we're excited about it. We're excited for lots of these credit programs to go live and consumers be like, man, this is game changing.
So how do you see LoanPro influencing the broader financial industry? I guess.
Yeah, actually a lot. And it's around my first point, going back to my first point around modernization. I think Simon Taylor, who writes Fintech Brain Food recently, has been talking a lot about the need to modernize and legacy infrastructure that we have. And I believe that the broader fintech ecosystem is now realizing that we have hit an innovation limit with appending things to core legacy technology, that there are limitations that it causes that are challenging. And I believe that the broader financial industry is catching the vision of how do we modernize. So Forbes did a study end of 2023 where they spoke to over 200 financial executives, and 59% of them listed the legacy technology as their biggest challenge right now. So we're definitely leading the way on how do you modernize the infrastructure, and that unlocks things that, man, I haven't even thought about.
So let's pivot a little bit and have a little bit of fun, and let's
I love it.
Let's learn more about Colton. So beyond the boardroom, what drives you outside of fintech?
A lot of family and friends. I got a wife and 2 kids, Hudson and Bronx, 7 and 3. We live in New York City, so we have a lot of fun. Do a lot of amazing things. I consider, lots of people argue with me, but I believe New York City is the best city in the world by far. Best food, best entertainment, best sporting scene, like all of the above. And then on a personal note as well, I'm a huge baseball fan. I am a huge New York Yankees fan. The best baseball team in the world, 27 World Series, like all the stuff. If there's any Red Sox fans listening, they probably cut out at this point. They're like, "Ah, man, I discredit everything you said," but that's okay.
Oh, I'm a Blue Jay fan, so
You gotta be. You're in Canada, so I get it.
Share a fun fact about yourself.
Yeah, great question. I shared that I'm a fintech nerd and fintech enthusiast. I love baseball. One of the other interesting parts about me, actually, that my team knows really well because I bring it up all the time, and my wife and I now plan our vacations around this, but we are avid scuba divers. We've been to Maldives, Hawaii, Fiji, Japan, Bahamas, lots of Mexico places to dive. Two of the coolest dives we've done is we dove in Maldives with probably 200, 300 sharks swarming around us. And then if anyone ever has thought about scuba diving or whatever, if you do the manta ray dive in Hawaii and Kona on the Big Island, it is one of the coolest experiences. You go down at night, the manta rays come. We had about 7 or 8 manta rays that come right above your head. It's a whole different world that the normal people that normally you don't see in a normal life.
I always wanted to get my license to do scuba diving. I didn't. I traveled to Australia. I got to go to the coral reef, but I wasn't licensed. So that there was a way to bring us under the water. To a certain level. We had to follow with the divers, and we were holding onto a string, but it was pretty cool. I would have loved to do that. And I think even is it in Dubai or Qatar? Where's that place where they have that 8-10 story underwater park? Have you heard about that place?
I haven't heard about this. I'll have to go look it up.
It's incredible. Like I've seen some of these places where they made like you go in, it's unassuming, but you go underwater. It's man-made, and each level, like they have, like you could play chess, you could go down to like all these different levels of like a really cool exploratory levels for people to go scuba diving. I forget the name of it, but it's pretty incredible.
Well, you've got some research for me. I'll go look it up and tell my wife about it.
So you mentioned that a coworker or the one that had the stage 4 cancer, giving some advice around how to approach things. Is there any other advice or anyone else that have like influenced you?
So Brandon DeWitt, the prior CTO, co-founder and CTO at MX, had a huge impact on me. And a lot of the values and beliefs I have in my life come from him. Outside of that, though, growing up, my father actually always taught me. I played baseball. And when I grew up, I was really bad at baseball. Or when I was little, I was very bad at baseball. Awful, not naturally talented. And as the kid you look at on the field and like, he should not be playing baseball. But what my dad taught me is like, hey, you may not always be the most skilled person on the field, but it takes no skill to be the hardest working person on the field. And I've lived that throughout my entire life. I eventually, through my life, worked really hard at baseball, played high school ball, got a scholarship to go play college ball, but it was through work. It was through work ethic. If you were to interview or talk to every member of my marketing department, that's the one thing they would say is, man, Colton works. I believe that we're on this world to make a difference and impact. And the best way I can do so is to work as hard as I possibly can while I'm here.
You know, the more I think about it, you do have a baseball name. It just sounds like a baseball name.
Yeah, I should have played for the Yankees, but it didn't quite make it. So yeah, thank you.
Any closing thoughts or key messages for the listeners?
I always end with this on these podcasts that I do, is I feel like it's important for those in fintech and financial services to take a step back and think about the purpose and what you're really doing. This was really imprinted me on Brandon DeWitt, the former CTO of MX, where when he had stage 4 cancer, he was really focused on things around the nobility of banking and bringing back the nobility of banking. And many people don't know, but the first bank we know in the Western world was the Knights of Templar. And to be the bank, they had to take a vow of poverty. So they had to say, we are giving up our entire life to be able to take care of finances for this community that we serve. I don't think that bankers need to go and take a vow of poverty today. But
I think that message has been lost throughout the years.
It's definitely been lost, right? Like, we have all different flavors. Yeah. But I do think it's really profound and important to remember that's where banking in the Western world started. And I think that there are ways that we can do to get back further towards there as we remember the purpose of what we're doing is really how do we help the financial health of for us, we service folks in North America and Canada, but how do we help the financial lives of those that we serve? Because once again, like financial stress has so many negative downstream consequences. I believe the work that's happening in fintech and innovation is the next wave of helping make a difference there.
That's pretty cool. And I think, you know, in any profession, if you treat it like you're there to serve, I think you always make an impact and help people at the end of the day. So Colton, where can people connect with you that want to get in touch?
Yeah, great question. Connect with me on LinkedIn. If you search Colton Pond, LoanPro, you can definitely find me. Feel free to shoot me an email. It's Colton, Colton. And then on the cool things we're doing at LoanPro, check us out. So it's loanpro.io. Actually, fun drop. We'll have a new website dropped here in about 2 weeks, which will be exciting. But go check us out. The team would love to chat.
Yeah, the new website will probably be up by the time the episode releases. So
awesome.
So thank you so much, Colton, for joining today. It's been a great conversation. I learned a lot of stuff of LoanPro, and wishing you guys continued success.
Sounds great. Thanks, Pat.
Take care.